Everybody, welcome. I am super excited to be here with you. This is our Quantum Leap strategy final week in going through the book, and this week is so powerful. Going out with a bang here, right? So if you're just tuning in, say hello. I'm going to open up my phone so I can see who's here, but you have to comment in order for me to know if you're here or not. But this week is questions and answers, but basically he's going through here the 14 traps that you must avoid. And it's kind of an interesting thing to think about, the languaging that he's using here, because we are literally moving from a marketing perspective right now in the coaching and consulting industry in space from and this was kind of taking place, I would say, back like circa 2010 to 2013, where a lot of people in the coaching and consulting space were moving from fear-based marketing language to empowering based languaging. So I know for me personally, I tend to like just I don't even respond, or it doesn't resonate for me when it's like, the number one mistake you must avoid to, or the biggest failure, those kinds of words. I remember years ago when I was working, oh, here we are. Okay, good. When I was working for another company and doing sales for that particular company. Again, if you're here, I need you to comment because I don't know who's here. I just see the little like numbers on the top of the screen. But we had a huge, long conversation about this marketing campaign that we were doing with Facebook ads and stuff like that. And the copywriter that was working in the company, who's since become a great friend of mine, and that's one of the things that Kylie really believes about now, having worked with really high-end storytellers in Hollywood and stuff like that, to use the storytelling and to use the positive languaging or encouraging languaging. And it's not to like paint a big elephant pink either. I think you need to be very conscious of that. But like, for example, yesterday I made a post on my public profile, and I could have said your fear factor, the one thing you're missing in your business that will have you failing in 5 years or less, kind of thing. Like that kind of languaging is really becoming outdated and people are not responding to it. And actually, what the title of my post was, your feel factor, because I took some of the content from our Facebook Live training from Tuesday. And what we were talking about was it always ends up being about how you made that person feel. So anyway, so this is the grand finale, the Quantum Leap strategy. And then next week, we'll jump into the abundance book. So I'm super excited to do that with you. And again, this week is questions and answers, but he's got some interesting things here to talk about. So he says, are you willing to answer your own questions? I think that's a really important thing to do, instead of just relying on other people. I think, obviously, I believe that having coaching and mentorship is extremely critical and extremely important and extremely valuable. And I continue to invest in my coaches as well. But I do believe that it's really important for us to ask ourselves the questions that we may have, and perhaps journal on them or contemplate them and, reflect on them, etc. So he says, but perhaps you're still wondering, can I really make a quantum leap? Here we are 16 weeks in. I hope you're not wondering if you're still wondering, could you really make a quantum leap? And how long it will take. How long will it take? The answer to the first question is, of course you can. Of course you can have a quantum leap. Of course you can make the quantum leap. An unqualified yes. Just run your own experiments and find your own proof. As for how long it will take, that depends. If you have laser-like focus on your goal and manage to avoid the traps, you'll make the quantum leap with blinding speed compared to your past accomplishments. Now, the thing that I will say about this too is that we are living currently in an energetic era. So things are happening like 3 to 10 times faster than they were before happening at one time as fast, just so you know. So here are the 14 traps that you must avoid. Number 1, the be reasonable trap. I love this one. It's like limiting your goals to what you think you can have instead of what you want or what you desire. I believe that the be reasonable comment, whether it's a comment that whether it's self-talk or someone that you know that's saying, be reasonable. Basically, I'm going to translate all of these for you, okay? That, in my personal and professional opinion, is really stay small. Don't take up too much space. Just keep doing what makes everyone else feel comfortable and safe, right? That's what the be reasonable statement is, in my opinion. The second one is the half throttle trap, living life with a lukewarm heart. Basically, this is living the half-assed life, right? Like not fully going for it, continuing to self-sabotage, playing it safe, tiptoeing around, not fully like, I move out of the way, I'm doing this no matter what, blah, 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 blah. And it might go against societal norms, right? Like, it's like what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. So like eating crap tons of dessert in public or out at a family gathering is acceptable, but drinking crap tons of booze is not. What's the difference? All right. Number 3, the more of the same trap. Reliance on trying harder instead of trying differently. Okay? That is huge. If you just make this one shift, so much will change for you. If we look at the definition of insanity that most people are familiar with, right? Doing the same thing and expecting different results. That is this exact statement right here. Reliance on trying harder instead of trying differently. So when you're trying something and it becomes hard, and I'm not saying that there's not hard things that you're going to do in your business, there certainly are. It might feel extremely hard to be visible or to go do a Facebook Live. And the answer to that is not like, oh, go do it differently. Like just post on social media, hide behind the text or hide behind the blog and don't be visible and that sort of thing. That I disagree with, okay? But what it is saying is, women tend to be in creative flow and connection. So when you're in tune with that and something feels hard, and I'm trying to make the distinction here because I don't want you to just think that being in business is always going to be easy, because it's not. It certainly is not. But if you feel like you're paddling up the stream, in other words, because going downstream can feel difficult too, right? But it's more you're going with the flow, but there are challenges along the way. That's the distinction and the differentiation that I would make to you. But if you are feeling like you're paddling upstream and you're trying to do it the same way, whenever you're in a situation where you're feeling like there's not a solution, it always means that you need to become more creative. And that's what he's talking about here, is to try and do it differently. Number 4, the doubt trap. Believing in your limits instead of testing the limits. And for this, I would encourage you to write it down. If you believe you have a limitation, write it down and ask yourself, is it true? Can I absolutely positively know that this is true? Is number 2. This is Byron Katie work, by the way. And then turning it around to the opposite. For example, I can't write copy. Well, what if you turned it around and you said, I could write copy, or I could try writing copy, or I could hire someone else to write copy? That's you getting creative and not being in the doubt trap. All right, number 5, the faith is in the familiar. Relying on your usual routines. Sometimes, I would say most of the time, you need to do something outside of the familiar to break through to the next level. In fact, one year, one of my coaches went and jumped out of an airplane to scare the shit out of herself to get out of her regular routine. So there's just one example. Number 6, the methodology trap. Focusing on the means rather than the ends. Focusing on the means rather than the ends. So this is basically where you're just hyper focused on all of the details and all of the things. And yes, it's important for you to enjoy the journey, but also keep that end goal in sight. Number 7, the what I can't see isn't there trap. Oh, thinking you have to do it all by yourself. Again, this is where you would want to say, I'm not seeing a solution right now. I can't do this all myself. I really truly know that you can have it all, but you cannot do it all. There is just absolutely, that's impossible. You're setting yourself up for tremendous failure there. And doing it by yourself is for the birds, okay? Like, I'm sorry, but that is so outdated, stale, and old. We are a collaborative species. We live in an environment. That's why I talk about your healthy business ecosystem. All things work together for the greater good of all right? Number 8, the playing it safe trap. Choosing the wrong risks. It's a risk to stay small. It's a risk to stay the same. It's a risk to do everything that's safe and not step outside of your comfort zone and take a chance. That's what entrepreneurship is really all about. In fact, right before I started my own coaching company, on one of my coaches very first coach that I had hired, I was going to this workshop in Florida, and she told me, she said, you know what, Rebecca, this is one of those jump off the cliff and hope the bridge appears moments. So if you're not doing that enough, and I've said that for years, I'm like, if you're not scaring the shit out of yourself often enough, you are not growing at the pace that the universe wants you to grow and evolve. Number 9, the passivity trap. Wishing for what you want instead of pursuing what you want. I'm going to hold my tongue on this because what I really want to say in response to this is probably not appropriate or polite. The passivity, I'm going to read it again. Maybe something a little more polite will come through. Please, universe, thank you. The passivity trap, wishing for what you want instead of pursuing what you want. Okay, so these are the kinds of people who they get to a certain point in life and they have a lot of regrets. Or they say, you know, I wish I would have done this, or I wish I would have done that, and now the time has run out. And you literally are not living your full dharma. You're not feeling fulfilled because you feel the level of having pursued your purpose and having that fulfilling reward, excuse me, for taking the risks and doing things and trying them out to find that perhaps they don't work or it wasn't what you thought it was going to be or what have you. But at least you took the risk and did that instead of just sitting around and allowing for things to be the same and not really stepping outside of your comfort zone. And to me, that feels like living in a cage. That's a very trapped way of living and thinking. All right, the number 10, the failures aren't allowed trap. Unwillingness to make mistakes and interpreting problems as proof you should give up and quit. This is where I would say perfection is for poor people. So often in business, especially people who are newer in business, and there's less of a level of confidence. Like for me at this point, I'm like, okay, I've been in the coaching business for 10 plus years. I've seen a lot, not just in my lifetime, but in the coaching industry behind closed doors, in my own business. I have so many experiences and so on. That if I make a mistake or something doesn't work or we start a Facebook Live training a couple minutes late or what have you, those kinds of things earlier on in my business would have really caused me a tremendous amount of anxiety. And also very early on in my business, I came to the conclusion that if I were to make a mistake, that it was really a beautiful thing because it allowed other people to see that life is not always perfect and business is not always perfect, and it would give someone else a reason to go out there and not be perfect and still be successful. And truly, perfection is for poor people. So many people in business, they think that they have to have all of the things in order and all the ducks aligned and in a row in order for them to then go launch, for example, when the truth of the matter is, and I shared this with you on one of the other trainings we did this week, is that you are building the plane and evolving the plane and, you know, renovating the plane and cutting parts of the plane off and putting new parts on while you are flying it. That is the true journey of an entrepreneur. All right, the next one, the comfort junkie trap. This is number 11. Being afraid to confront fear. A Course in Miracles says that fear is an acronym for false evidence appearing real. And as we know in the Science of Getting Rich, it says believe more in what you cannot see than in what you can see. those can kind of tend to seem a little bit contradictory, if you will. But the point is that I've shared this before in this group, but I'll share it again real quick because it seems to be appropriate here. So if you're just tuning in, say hello in the comments. I would love to see who is here. There was a group of university students, and I think there was about 25 of them, and they were doing a scientific study on fear. And so when they graduated from high school, before they went off to college, and I believe they all went to the same university or various universities, I don't remember, it doesn't matter. But they asked them what their number one fear was. And they all had varying degrees of fears, like I'm not going to make it through college, or I'm not going to find the love of my life, or I'll never get married, or I'll graduate from college and I won't get the job of my dreams. Whatever the fears were, it doesn't matter. They documented their fears and they followed them through the college experience. And then when they graduated from college, only 2%, I would think it was like 2 to 5% of the people actually in a 4-year time period had their fear fruition come into being. So I think you can stay out of the comfort junkie trap just by knowing that particular statistic around that. I thought it was a fascinating study. Number 12, the use it or lose it trap. Not opening your gifts. Not opening your gifts. And your gifts evolve, right? Like you might have some clues right now about what are my gifts? What am I really brilliant at? How do I work with people? How do I articulate how I work with people? One of the biggest gifts that I have in my coaching company is my own intuition and my ability to read energy. And I'm able to get people much greater results much faster because I can read the energy even now more than ever. If there's a strategy that someone is implementing in their business, I can feel if it's an energetic alignment for that person, or I can tell them how to tweak it, or I can tell them their fastest path to cash that much more quickly because I'm following the energy, not just in general, but as it pertains uniquely to that person. And that can be kind of hard to articulate because it's not necessarily like a tangible thing, but it does get my clients to greater amounts of revenue in their business much more quickly. So over the years, I've had to learn how to be able to articulate that. I kind of call it an added bonus of when you work with me as your business and success strategist for your coaching and consulting business or whatever it is, whatever company you're running. I work with all kinds of different businesses, people with products, people with services, people who are running small businesses. And generally, I can pick up on the energy of team members if this person's a fit for you. I can pick up on the business strategies and whether they're going to be viable for you and how quickly they'll be viable for you. That's a really amazing gift that I have as who I am. And that opening to your gifts. So that has opened up more and more and more throughout the 10 plus years that I have been 100% of the time professional coaching with people. All right, number 13, the preparation trap, bogging down in getting ready. Well, that kind of relates back to the perfection is for poor people comment. This is exactly what happens. People will get stuck in the well, I need the mailers ready and I need this ready and I need all these different ducks in a row before I will blank. And like I was saying, you need to be building the plane and renovating the plane as you're flying it and rerouting the plane, perhaps even. All right, number 14, the final one is the perfect timing trap, waiting for the right circumstances. The right circumstances actually are dictated by your mind. Okay, so, some people over the years, I've heard people say, well, September's not a good time to launch because people are getting their kids back to school, or people are busy with holiday shopping in December. Some of my greatest revenue months have been in December, believe it or not. So the perfect timing is an illusion, and the perfect timing is now. Okay, so what is it that you're focused on in launching in your business, in the success that you're creating in your business? And what steps are you going to take to get it to market in a shorter period of time and not have to wait to have all these ducks in a row? You can be having conversations and be relationship building now to generate interest in what it is that you are offering. And even if the person isn't a yes right now, you have established a relationship with them and you can build on that relationship. Being successful in business is about having varying degrees of people at varying stages in your pipeline and then converting them and being in relationship with them and nurturing those relationships, etc. Okay, so he says, and then the final question, as you sit and weigh your chances, but what if I should not succeed? If you feel compelled to count the cost, the most important calculation is the cost of doing nothing. That's a beautiful way to end the book. I love it. And he says one more time, a quantum leap is something you are already prepared to do. So you're already prepared to do it. And it's really important for you to not sit around and do nothing. And I have over the years seen people do this where they'll postpone things, they'll postpone working with me, and you have to look at what it's costing them. You know, we talk about that in the sales process. If someone has a problem, what is it costing them and what is it worth for them to fix it? Because there is a cost to doing nothing. All right, everyone. We'll be live tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time for our Map Out Your Success weekly power hour. And I will see you then. I hope you have a great rest of your afternoon. Bye.